This could be the toughest video I've done this year. The Samsung Galaxy S7. Right, then what we're going to do in this video, the Samsung Galaxy S7 review, is give you the lab test results. I'm sure if you search for a Galaxy S7 review on the web, you've found one and you've watched an overview review. We weren't there a week ago, but we're here today because we took the time to put the S7 through our lab test. Daniel Schmidt, our tester in Germany, has put this through screen brightness test, through heat test, through noise test, through battery life test, CPU and GPU performance tests, gaming tests and camera tests, and a lot more. So what I'm going to do in this video is a little bit more technical. I'm going to go into some of the details on our lab test results. At the end of the video, I'll give you the summary score, the breakdown, and the pros and cons. So you can jump to that to get the pros and cons of the Samsung Galaxy S7. But let me tell you right now, this phone has scored the best score I've seen this year, 91%. We had the iPhone 6s Plus, the Huawei Mate S in here, the Xperia Z5 and Z5 Premium in here, which all scored towards 90. Very, very good phones, a lot of them, but this one has tipped it over the 90% mark with 91%. Of course, it's an excellent phone. But let's get into some detail now from our lab test results at Notebook Check. So let's start by taking a look at that Samsung AMOLED screen, 2560 by 1440 resolution. That's a DPI, or a pixel density of 561 pixels. It has really great viewing angles, as you can see there, and there's some really good color accuracy as well. Let's start though by looking at brightness. The maximum center brightness with an all-white screen is 350 nits. That doesn't sound like much, but this is an AMOLED screen, and AMOLED screens have a trick up their sleeves. When the picture is not all white, the power can be pushed to the pixels that need the white level. So if you take what's known as an APL, average picture level of 50, where only half the pixels are on, you can push more power into those white pixels that need it. So we were actually getting a maximum of 489, there's the figure there, on an APL of 50. Bear in mind that your average web page has an APL, an average whiteness of around 80%. Now the Samsung has another trick up its sleeve as well. If you put the auto brightness on, it can, for a short term, push even more power to those pixels, and you'll get up to 684 nits. That's what we measured in our test, which beats really pretty much every smartphone out there. It's an excellent figure, and it's one that, if you take into consideration the contrast that we're talking about here, and the contrast of course is infinite because this is an AMOLED screen. Blacks are blacks. I don't know if you can actually see that on the screen, but yes, it's a bit difficult to see that. Maybe if I can turn it that way, you'll see it's difficult to actually tell the difference, the color, the black levels between the edge and the screen itself. In fact, the black looking blacker than the edges of the screen there. So overall, contrast, brightness, really good for outdoor use, and it's well controlled for indoor use so that you get the best battery life out of it. Right, we can go to color and grayscale accuracy here. 2.04 for color, 1.63 for grayscales. These deltas, the smaller the better. And if you get under 5, you're starting to get to good. Towards 2, really excellent. Perfect is 1. So look at that, color and grayscales, really, really nice. Now, does it cover the whole range of colors? Well, under our sRGB test, 99.35% is colored. Under Adobe RGB, 86.8% is covered. These are excellent figures. So if you take a look at some of our comparisons here, let's take the Samsung Galaxy S6. That's this one here on the right hand side. Center brightness with an APL of 100, 335, and color accuracies 2.59 and 2.53. So we're improved over the Galaxy S7. In fact, there aren't many screens out there which have a better quality color or brightness or contrast on the market. So congratulations to Samsung on making one of the best smartphone screens out there right now. So it's clearly a highlight of the S7 as well. The 12 megapixel camera on the back, reduced from 16 megapixels of the Galaxy S6, and we've got better multi-focus capability, better speed at focusing. You've got 4K resolution, you've got optical image stabilization, you've got low light capability as well, and an f1.7 lens, which really gives you some really pinpoint focusing and a nice bokeh effect at the back in the background. So that is the basic specs of the camera. There's more on the website, of course, but and we've also got some test pictures. There are a couple of test card pictures showing that the colors from the cameras, of course, slightly deviate from perfection. But they're actually pretty good. Slightly, a little bit pumped, some of the colors. And if you look carefully at the test card, you might see some drop off at sharpness on the edges. But in general, extremely good. I really enjoyed the high quality 60 frames per second full HD recording. 4K recording is pretty damn good as well, and the speed to focus on the camera is incredible. I tested it for a while out at CeBIT last week on really low light subjects where things like the 830, the Lumina 830 with its OIS capability failed to capture a clean image. The S7 is still hanging in there right down to pitch black. It's quite incredible how accurate that camera is at low light. There's YouTube streaming capability direct from the camera. There's also panorama mode. There are video mosaic modes and a lot of gimmicky stuff as well. One thing I was missing was the picture-in-picture mode that we saw on the Sony Xperia Z5, having the rear camera or the face-facing camera superimposed over the front-facing camera for a recording where maybe you can be talking and walking as well, reporting kind of scenario there. But that's maybe a little bit of a niche application for a camera. As I said, we've got some test photos on our website. We're comparing the S7 with the Motorola Moto X Force, an Apple iPhone 6s Plus, and the Canon EOS 70D. And you'll be able to click around the photos and zoom in and see differences between those four cameras. Now on to performance, and in general the whole unit is pretty fluid, and the frame rate on the screen and the UI is fantastic. Here we're looking at the full review of the S7, and really quite pleasing to use. We've done some lab tests on CPU and GPU performance and on flash speed. I'll give those to you now. Let us just quickly fast forward to the right section. There we are. Let's start off with Antutu Benchmark V5 with the S7 up there at the top, beating the S6 Edge, which is 11% slower. So that's a really nice score there. Let's look at Basemark OS 2. It's up there. The Mate 8 beats it slightly. The iPhone 6s certainly beats it, 10% faster. PC Mark for Android, a good general all-round score. Huawei Mate 8 up there at the top, and the S7 just coming slightly under the Galaxy S6 Edge in the PC Mark for Android score. Let's go to some GPU tests and GFX Bench 4. The Samsung Galaxy S7 beating the Mate 8 there, which is 15% slower. Let's take the 3D Mark 2013 scores, where you can see the 6S also coming slightly below the Galaxy S7. And the Mate 8 right down there at 19,179 points. So what you've got here is a device that can perform extremely well, and it doesn't actually throttle that much under long-term tests. We did some long-term tests, we saw a bit of throttling, but it's not a significant amount of throttling. So good performance over a longer period. And if I fast forward here to temperature, let me show you the temperature. It's not building up heat as well, so that is a really good point. Performance over time without too much throttling and without too much heat. That's really impressive. And I'll talk about some battery life figures in a minute, which will really impress you even further. I want to go back to the speeds on the internal flash, because they're quite a highlight there. 483.82 at the top, sequential read on the internal flash. That is pretty impressive. And if we go to 4K random reads, the S7 also at the top there. The Mate 8 down there at 24.98, the Galaxy S7 2.5 times faster than the Mate 8. So that's pretty impressive flash score. What a shame that there isn't a USB 3 port on the bottom, so we can actually really get the most out of that for file transfers. But unfortunately, that's the case. One game test for you there. That is Asphalt 8 Airborne, 30 frames per second. That's a pretty good score on Asphalt 8 Airborne, on high settings as well. Dead Tracker 2 on high settings, 56 frames per second. Now, the all-important battery life figures, well, a lot of it does depend on the screen brightness. So our tests are done at 150 nits, and I want to highlight the surfing over Wi-Fi VLAN version 1.3 of our test using a Chrome, 7 hours and 36 minutes. Now, go down to the comparison table here, and that's this figure here, 456 minutes. You go across that table there, and you won't see anything that beats it until you get to the S6, which is only 4% more, and the Huawei Mate 8, which has a 6 watt-hour battery inside, about I think 20. What is that? 15% more, 16% more battery. So actually, not too bad in terms of Wi-Fi browsing. Now back there to the Big Butt Bunny test, 1080p, 14 hours and 52 minutes. That's that figure there. And we go back down to this comparison table, and you'll see that there isn't much again beating it until you get to the Huawei Mate 8 there at 963. So excellent battery scores from the Samsung Galaxy S7. And that whole combination there of performance, not getting hot, not too much throttling, and battery life is pretty impressive. Had the great screen and the great camera as well. You've got one incredible device, but you've got the fingerprint reader, you've got the pulse sensor there, you've got IP68 waterproofing. Really a quite incredible smartphone. Expensive at $599. That's up to you. If you can afford $599, it's not expensive at all. If you can justify it, not expensive at all. But for most people, it is maybe a little bit too high end. You probably, and this is one interesting thing, in doing this review, it took a lot of time to get down into the details of the S7, and I'm pretty sure that over time we'll be surfacing more tips and tricks, more hidden features of the S7. It's like a good camera. Over time, you mature with it, you get to know the user interface, you get to know the features, the quirks, and the real plus points of the device, and you start to make the most of them over time. So I think this S7 is a device you need to be thinking after 3 months you'll probably be really good with the camera and really good with the features, and well, in the meantime you can have a play with the VR headset. The VR headset, well, it adds value to the S7. It adds a lot of value to the S7. It's a really enjoyable experience. Everyone that's tried this on for the first time has been wowed by the experience it gives you. In my opinion, it could get a lot better. Some of the source material that's played back through here isn't that high quality, but when you look at some of the very high quality material you can get through this, you think, yes, okay, there's a room for improvement with most software and film programs on that. So we get to the pros and cons now. We've got the review written in German. We haven't translated to English at this time, but I'm going to run it through. If you fast forwarded to this section, you're welcome. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the videos if you want to see more of these in your mailbox. Don't forget we have a very rigorous test process, a test lab, a reviewer, and then to me in the studio where I even do some more reviewing and a little bit of playing around to bring that to you on a video. So a lot of work goes into these reviews. And don't forget to check out the website for the full detailed review and every element of the review written there. Pros and cons then. I'll read these out in English. High quality casing with great craftsmanship and good stability. Good power, that's sehr gute Leistung. Very good power and performance. We saw that in the CPU and GPU tests. Great display, in fact an excellent display. Good colors, good color range, good brightness, perfect contrast, and this outdoor brightness boost as well from the AMOLED screen. You can stick a microSD card in there. That's great to see that back on the Galaxy S series. And IP68 means you've got waterproofing up to 1 meter with fresh water for I think 30 minutes. Great camera. It says good camera there, but it really is a fantastic camera, and it's going to take you a while to get really into the features of the camera. There's a really good manual mode that you can get stuck into, and some great features through the software as well. The GPS module was pretty accurate as well, so although I didn't mention that in this review, you can find out details on the full review. Contras now, the negative points. TouchWiz, it doesn't bring out all the functions of Android 6. More details in the review on that one. We didn't cover that in the lab test results here on the video review. It has got a slippery, well, a shiny rear side to it, but in my opinion it hasn't got the anti-fingerprint covering that the front has, so there's a little bit more friction on that than on the front. Just make sure when you put it down at night, if you're putting it on a surface that's not fully level, put it on the back and not the front. My personal big issue with the S7, probably wouldn't stop me buying it if I was actually in the market right now for a $600 or $700 smartphone, but this USB port should have been USB 3. It is only a USB 2 port, but even worse than that, no MHL output. This has got a great camera on it. You can actually use this HDMI in to some video mixing equipment and use it as a really interesting video streaming video camera. It's USB 2, so at least you get the little adapter with it. That's one bonus point for Samsung there. The infrared sender has gone from this, so the consumer infrared sender that you can use to change channels on TVs, for example, is no longer there. Pulse width modulation is used for brightness adjustments. We measured some, and the details are in the review. And finally, the high price. Well, that's up to you, isn't it? It's only a high price if you think it's a high price. It's not up to us to say that it's not worth the money, because if you're looking for those features or the perfect camera, the perfect screen, you might be prepared to pay for that. It's certainly a high-end device and will only appeal to really advanced users of smartphones, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that could justify the high price of the Galaxy S7. So let's do the roundup of the scores, the breakdown of the scores. The reviewer on this was Andreas Osthoff. The lab tester was Daniel Schmidt. And there's the breakdown of the scores. The overall score, 91%. Now, that's a fantastic score, 91%. But you can see the breakdown there. The lowest score in our ranges was for the audio. It's a mono speaker, so it only scored 76%, although it is pretty loud, and the audio range is not too bad on that. Battery life, 92%. Connectivity, down 82%, and that's because of that USB 2 port. No MHL support over that. But in general, pretty damn good, 91%. Don't forget to check out the details on the full review. I want to thank you for watching, and please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. A lot of effort goes into these reviews, lab tests, the reviewers' work, and my work as well, to try and bring you this summary on YouTube. If you're interested in subscribing, you will get notifications of stuff that's coming up, including about 5 or 6 devices I've got behind me right now, mostly laptops at the moment, but I think there's a Samsung Galaxy 12 Pro coming in, the Windows tablet. I think that's coming in soon, maybe next week, so stay tuned for more. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next Notebook Check Tech Review.